morning of July 27th, 2022, I set out early for Rockland, Maine to catch the final Canadian Pacific Train G17 on the CP Rockland Subdivision. Due to crew shortages, the takeover had been postponed for several weeks while the Rockland crew was used on the Brownville switcher among other assignments on the CP property. This was due to a staffing shortage as well as a mass exodus of former CMQ crews between 2021 and 2022. On this day, an engineer and MOW foreman acting as a conductor were scrounged up and used as a crew. The day started off relatively late at 7:44 a.m. Since there was no radio network, the crew had to wait for a DOT track patrol to clear up and for several flagmen protecting work zones to arrive. Since the last video, FGLK got solid commitments from Dragon and other customers and had pursued the operation contract from CP. At the time, the DOT was also doing upgrades to several bridges, which included pier reinforcement and shoring up additional riprap to avoid erosion. On this day, the train would also have to pass through a work zone at Bayview, just east of Bath, where the current Route 1 bridge is being replaced. Once the DOT foreman cleared up at the engine house, the CP engineer would start up GP38-2 3057. Over the winter, 3057 had to stay outside of the roundhouse during its stay, since the winterization hatch on the long hood made it too tall for the doors. This combined with the non-operational auto start and APU meant for months it had to run 24/7 to prevent it from freezing up. This likely caused it to burn more fuel than what revenue CP was making on the line at the time. The 3057 would replace the 2279 in early 2022 due to flat wheels on the 2279. The 2279 replaced CEFX GP38-3 3803, which replaced CMQ B23-7 2004 a few months after the takeover in 2020. For some time, the CMQ 2004 operated under CP ownership, being the first -7 to be operated by a Class 1 in decades. However, when CP discovered the unit was still active, the CEFX lease unit was sent quickly to replace it. The CMQ 2004, like the other CMQ B23s, were then sold to SPB Equipment in Quebec in 2021 and are assumed to have been scrapped despite being operational. Before leaving the yard, the crew would have to run around 2 perlite cars. 2 friends of mine, Josh Stevens and Micah Heilman, were also out to chase the final CP train. After running around the train, G17 would head towards Dragon while I set up at the Pleasant Street crossing in Rockland. Setting up at Butler Road in Thomaston, I caught G17 as they finished conducting a flying switch at Decapearl, where they picked up a third empty perlite car. Perlite is a component in cement, and to my understanding, loads of the mineral are shipped from out west and unloaded here. The product is then shipped to Dragon Cement, where it is mixed with other products and becomes concrete mix. While G17 added 13 loaded cement cars to their train at Dragon, I'd once again set up at the Mill River Drawbridge in Thomaston. The full story on this bridge can be found in the previous video. After G17 passed, we set out for Finntown Road in Warren. This is one of the steeper grades on the route, and with the heavy train, the 3057 was working hard. Just missing the train in Waldoboro, we would jump to Winslow's Mills, where the train would have to stop for a work zone. DOT contractor Wyman and Simpson was hard at work placing riprap around the bridge abutments with a pair of excavators. After contacting the flagman from Right-of-Way Consulting, the flagger would halt work and take off the derails once it was confirmed that the Wyman and Simpson equipment was in the clear. He would then give the 3057 permission through the work zone. After shooting at Winslow's Mills in Waldoboro, I'd once again shoot at Water Street in Wiscasset. On this day, there would be no vehicles fouling the tracks. While waiting, I received word from a friend that one of 3057's traction motors had blown up while crossing Sheepscot Road in Newcastle. With the heavy train in tow, there was talk of doubling to get over some of the hills. But luckily, the experienced engineer was able to tackle all of the hills with the ailing unit with ease. After guiding through the roadwork at Bayview, I would once again set up at the Carleton Bridge in Bath. The Bath Iron Works shipyard can be seen here, as well as an unknown U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer. Steel plates used to be moved to BIW's plant at Hardings a few miles away until CP took over. With the yard at the plant being too small, they contracted the unloading to American Steel and Aluminum just down the tracks, where the steel would be unloaded and trucked to Bath Iron Works. While the ASA facility was being built, a siding was constructed by MBM Rail Services. However, CP refused to install a switch so that they could be served, so the siding sat unused until after the FGLK takeover. Once again, we see the 94-year-old Carleton lift bridge being lowered to allow the train to cross. Shortly thereafter, G17 would be allowed through by the bridge operator. towards Brunswick, I heard CP G17 get clearance from the CSX dispatcher at North Billerica, Massachusetts. They would then enter the former Pan Am, now CSX track at CPL 17. While the train was conducting the interchange, we would head to a nearby Domino's Pizza for lunch. Since the inbound traffic had to be sorted after multiple drops by CSX, we had more than enough time to take a lunch. At 2:59 p.m., G17 came into view at the Brunswick Amtrak platform. For some reason, FGLK B23-7, 2308, was located mid-train behind a perlite car. I assume this was to make it easier while switching Decapearl on the return trip. Heading east, G17 would stop at the siding at Harding's to make a few more switching moves. In the meantime, a group of us would be waiting at the New Meadows River in West Bath. After G17 passed, we waited to shoot a former CMQ high rail which was following the train. However, I was unable to get it on video. Dodging traffic and the foam convoy, which had appeared after hearing G17 get clearance onto CSX trackage, we would set up at the Wiscasset Yacht Club off of Water Street in Wiscasset. After dodging traffic, we would set up along the Sheepscot River. G17 would soon appear as several deer crossed the river. The next shot would be the Damariscotta Mills Causeway, where G17 would stir up the local duck and geese population. Once again getting permission from the flagger at Winslow's Mills, the train would proceed east. Here we see them passing under the pipeline owned by the Ocean Organics Corporation, which produces fertilizer. Struggling with the backlit conditions, we decided to shoot at Goshen Road in Waldoboro. Once again shooting the St. George River Bridge in Warren, evidence of the MDOT upgrades can be seen. Pieces of steel have been added to the piers to increase support, as well as to help them hold their current shape. Route 131 in Thomaston would be the next stop. From here, G17 would drop a loaded perlite car at Dickapearl before heading to Rockland Yard. After switching Dickapearl, G17 would head into Rockland Yard. We would once again catch them at Pleasant Street in Rockland. To our surprise, the crew would run around the train, leaving 2308 on the rear, and would run back to Dragon as we set up again at Butler Road. After switching Dragon, CP left the 2308 inside the complex. The rumor at the time was so that mechanical crews could get operational since it had been prepared for transport. The 3057 would then run light to Rockland, where the crew would tie down for the day. While CP's tenure was short on the Rockland Subdivision, the line has a much brighter future under FGLK subsidiary Mid-Coast Rail Service, a short line which actually wants to expand business on the line and has done so dramatically in the months after CP. Mid-Coast Rail Service's future is bright, and we will see how traffic has expanded in future videos from 2023.